Next, we have Representative Celia Israel. Representative Israel is a licensed Texas realtor, currently serving in her third term, representing House District 50 in Austin. In addition to serving Austin so well that she was inducted into Austin Women's Hall of Fame in 2018. Representative Israel serves on numerous boards and committees focused on multimodal transportation, amongst other important issues. She's a fierce advocate and knowledgeable champion for transportation, and as previously mentioned, constantly working towards the future. So we're certainly excited to have her here with us, what she has to say.
Hey, everybody. All right, I'm going to be able to say things that Matt Krause cannot say. Let's just clear the air. We are not of the same party, but we do share a love of Texas and a desire to get things done and do right by those who sent us to Austin every 2 years. So I say this with utmost respect. I always enjoy the opportunity to spend time with my fellow transportation nerds. I appreciate you all very much because I do care passionately about this topic, and I do want Texas to be the best. And we haven't been the best. We haven't been dreaming. We haven't been doing things in the creative and thoughtful manner that I would want. So it'll be my frustration until I die that I cannot be the queen of Texas where I can just say, make it so. And you can't. You have to work through committees. And we live in 2-year cycles, so we can make incremental changes. So I was first elected in 2014. I want us to be forward thinking about what we're doing. And while we made tweaks this last legislative session, we stopped short of funding new streams of revenue to put towards transportation infrastructure funding. Since the 1920s, we've relied heavily on a motor fuels tax to serve our needs, all while fuel efficiency and driving habits have changed. Our transportation agency, the Texas Department of Transportation, unfortunately continues to be the highway department. And I look forward to continuing to work with you guys to help TxDOT be more creative and thoughtful about transportation. There's some good things going on at TxDOT. We are also seeing the beginning of consumer market changes with over 3 million alternatively fueled vehicles estimated to be on Texas roads by 2033. And by the time we get to 2040, it will account for 18% of our US cars. Without contributing to the gas tax, alternatively fueled vehicles are expected to reduce our state purse by about $200 million every year by 2035. So if we want to react to that change in the market, that involves the state being futuristic and forward-thinking. I have legislation that would say to those of you who own a Prius, I'm sorry, but you're not paying your way into the state's purse, and there's solutions there. So I think that's one of our transportation challenges, is thinking differently about what goes into that state purse for transportation. It can't be just driven by motor fuels. Texas, of course, is the fastest growing state in America. We have 1,000 people moving here every day, and we are living ourselves to death. With this growth comes serious impacts with how we move people and products around. Congestion hurts productivity. Congestion worsens our air, lessens our quality of life. The continued population growth concentrated in urban areas puts more strain on our transportation system. But Texas currently has the most trucking bottlenecks of any state, and trucking freight in Texas is expected to double by 2045. I say that knowing you guys are like, yeah, we know, Celia. There is one key region here where we face congestion that is of a particular interest to me and my district, and that, of course, is the Central Texas I-35 corridor. It's still essentially the same as it was in the 1970s. For years, Austin and San Antonio in particular have ranked as 2 of the fastest growing cities in the nation. By 2050, projections show that suburban Williamson, Hays, and Comal counties along the corridor are expected to gain over 2 million additional residents. Texas' piece of the I-35 corridor has repeatedly ranked among the most congested in the nation. It comes at a cost. The Texas Transportation Institute projected over $300 million in 2018 alone in wasted time and fuel. So thank you for mentioning the work that we did to try to elevate this, the variety of answers that exist for that particular corridor. And I was very grateful to have the support of my colleagues across the aisle on a letter to say we need to study this, we need to work, we can't just give up on it. At some point, Texans have got to keep dreaming and doing, and not just accepting the status quo. While me and many of my colleagues believe this issue was an important one to take on, the request for an interim charge, of course, was not accepted. And alas, again, I am not the Queen of Texas, but I will always continue to push, and I hope that you guys will continue to push with me. We need to be creative and forward-thinking with transportation solutions. Earlier this month, as was alluded to, it got my attention when I saw that Governor Abbott said at a Rotary Club meeting in San Antonio, the way people get around is going to change. As a result, this generation of roads is probably the last major build-out of roads we'll have in the state of Texas. I was like, great, welcome, let's talk. An audience question said, does this mean that Texas may shift its investment towards public transit? The governor said, this remains the role of local government. So I was optimistic about the first part of the article, but then when I saw his response to the question, I was deflated because those thousand of people a day who are moving to Texas have meant that Texas is generally a younger state. That younger Texan wants creative answers and solutions to transportation. And I feel like this is an opportunity for Texas to lead. So I know we can do better. Across the country, there are examples where we can turn to state government. We have the Rail Relocation Fund, we have the Rail Division, we have the Texas Department of Transportation. Across the country, there are examples where we can turn to state government and have been successful, and the state has been a willing partner with the local government to achieve great things. That could be through an influx of state transit funding or utilizing state dollars to draw down federal funds. The example I would like to give is the case in Ohio, which just last year approved $70 million in general revenue spending for transit. With these new dollars, the Ohio Department of Transportation can provide funds to cover 100% of eligible local transit project costs or 100% of a project's non-federal share to match a federal operating assistance grant. This is an example of a valuable infusion of state dollars that will help both rural and urban transit systems, as well as support transit access for seniors and individuals with disabilities. This is my dream for Texas. Texas should be able to say, we want to partner with you, and if a little bit of Texas dollars can mean we pull down a whole bunch of federal dollars so that a local growing entity can build their dream and stop just dreaming. I would like for the state to be a partner in that. With TxDOT's goal to reduce death on Texas roads by half in 2035 and our Vision Zero goal by 2050, the state must take many approaches in order to turn our safety record around. As studies find time and time again, passenger vehicles produce notably higher casualty rates per mile than alternatives like public transportation and rail. This underscores the need for meaningful, high-capacity transit support from the state. So obviously, I'm a transit advocate. I'm going to always challenge the way in which we're doing things because we're not taking advantage of trends in technology and adapting to the changing demographic in Texas, which wants solutions. I know in Austin, which is known to be a really cool city, a lot of people arrive there and look at our public transit system and our congestion and say, what happened? We have a lot of growth, infrastructure growth to do to catch up to the population growth that we've been experiencing. So like Representative Kraus, I encourage you to use your collective voice. You guys are driven by data and statistics and facts. And the state of Texas is not always driven by data, statistics, and facts. So we need your voice. You find your inner nerd and use your voice. And thank you all very much for collaborating with us at every opportunity. I look forward to helping us dream with every 2-year cycle. And I have high aspirations, but I need your help. And I strongly encourage you to take part in the census this year, because that is going to determine how redistricting happens in 2021. And it makes me happy when people vote. I want people to feel like, well, just because I'm in Matt Krause's district doesn't mean that I shouldn't be open to what he has to say, regardless of party. The same is true for my constituents. But that's going to come with a reduction in gerrymandering. More thoughtful and fair maps is going to help all of us, whether our top issue is moving freight and people around or whether it's public education. So we have a lot of work to do in the next 2 years, and your voice is going to be really important. Thank you all very much for your time and your attention.